In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was Jesus Christ. God humbled himself into a human being, Jesus Christ, to complete the mission of dying on the cross for our sin, essentially meaning that we all sinned, or did something bad or evil and fell short of the glory of God. So our rebellion against God separated ourselves from God, but Jesus came down to save us by dying on the cross, taking up all our punishment and sin we will do and did against God, so that when we believe in Him and commit ourselves to Jesus for doing this amazing sacrifice, we will have eternal life. But let's go back to the beginning. Jesus of Nazareth finally came down to earth, and when he was 30 years old, he started his ministry. Jesus knew that he was going to have 12 apostles, and the first 3 people were going to be Simon, who was later named Peter, Andrew, Peter's brother, James, and John. Peter and his friends tried to get fish, or Peter would get arrested by the end of the day, but they couldn't catch a single fish. And the next morning, Peter saw Jesus preaching, and then Jesus went to Peter, and all of a sudden from the ocean, a great load of fish came out of the water, one of Jesus' miracles. Then they decided to follow Jesus Christ because they knew he was the Messiah. Later on, this led to getting 9 more apostles: Thomas, the doubter, Matthew, the former tax collector, James, the son of Alphaeus, Judas, the betrayer of Jesus, Philip, Simon the zealot, Bartholomew, and Thaddeus. Throughout this time, however, Jesus did more miracles like turning water to wine during a wedding, healing the blind, healing the paralyzed, bringing the dead to life like Lazarus, his friend, healing the sick, casting out demons from the possessed like from Mary Magdalene, 7 demons. There were also a lot of Pharisees, Romans, and Jews offended by Jesus, and people started accusing him of blasphemy or potentially demon-possessed, even though he debunks blasphemy, because how could he do these miracles if he isn't God? He also debunks being a demon-possessed, because he's literally casting out demons out of people. He also made a parable saying, how would a house function if it is being divided against each other? People thought he was a liar, but if he was a liar, why did Jesus go to death for a lie? As well as many other Christians and his apostles. They could have said he was a lunatic as well, but that wouldn't make sense, because how wise his teachings were, like on the Sermon on the Mount. So the last answer is that he had to be God in human form. The Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talked about incredibly wise teachings, including the Lord's Prayer, the Beatitudes, how to win against sin with God, love your enemies, forgive, and have humility. You can read more about this in Matthew chapters 5 to 6. Soon after this, Judas of Iscariot, the betrayer, betrayed Jesus by telling the people who hated him, like the Pharisees and Romans, where he was, only for 30 pieces of silver. When they found Jesus, they beat him in the most brutal ways possible known to man. They had a belt with spikes on it and hit his back several times. They also put a crown of thorns on his head. After brutally beating him in various ways, it was so hard for him to move. And they even gave him a 300-pound cross that he was going to get crucified on, and he had to carry it. He picked it up, but then fell. Not only that, but he still got back up. He also got nails on his wrists, hands, and feet to the cross. Not only this, but he carried all the sin of the world on the cross. Every sin that will happen and happened. This was the saddest moment to ever occur in human history. And when Jesus died, he went to hell from all the sin he bore from the world. But he defeated the grave, since he's God, obviously, and rose 3 days later and revealed himself to over 500 people, even to the apostles. Thomas the doubter doubted that he came back to life, and Jesus came to him. And then Thomas called him Lord, Lord, after seeing all the scars and scratches on his hands, and knew he was Jesus. Later on, Judas of Iscariot also killed himself because of the guilt he had when Jesus died. Then after this, Jesus ascended to heaven after fulfilling the law to save the world. Now because of this, Jesus can forgive you of any sin or any evil thing you ever committed. And if you commit your life to him and believe in him with all your heart, then you will have eternal life in heaven.